Hello and welcome to Force for Thought. Today, Matt's going rogue.
Matt, what are you going rogue about?
Today, guys, I'm going rogue about the Star Wars most debated topics.
Oh.
All right, sounds like a shoe-in for a hot topic for a hot conversation.
Okay, well, spoiler alert, I think we're going to have some hot takes, so let's get into it.
Yes. Hello and welcome back, everybody. Yeah, today I want to talk about Star Wars most debated topics. For the viewer/listener, a little peek behind the curtain. This is the last episode I'm recording before I have a child. And so I wanted to not go out with a bang or anything, but I'll be back, by the way. So if you're just like, Matt's my favorite, I can't live without him. It'll be okay. I'll be back. I don't know when. And we've balked a lot of episodes. But no, I want to talk about Star Wars most debated topics because I feel like the three of us have very different takes on all of these topics. I have 6 of them. There's so many to go in depth with as well.
And we haven't talked about them yet before on pod?
Some of them we have, some of them we haven't. Like one of the biggest ones that I wanted to talk about, and this whole thing could have been originally, I wanted to do just the Star Wars viewing order. But then I also felt like that's not fair of me for myself to say I'm going rogue about it and then just have it be an episode where we're talking about the viewing order. With that being said, that is a topic in here. So I figure we can kind of touch upon some of these topics. I mean, we've talked a little bit about like Han and Greedo, for example. I know that like your guys' dad has a very different opinion. We've talked about Han and Greedo, I think, like the 3rd episode we've ever done. Because remember, he called me the day after and complained about it to me. I was at a pizza shop waiting for my pizza, and your dad was yelling at me on the phone.
That was actually where our sign-off originated from, because his name is Sammy. And so after that, we were like, oh, I'm pretty sure he's the only one who's listening. So after, I think it was the next episode, you just said, see ya, Sammy.
Yep.
Matt was just patronizing listening to him on that phone call and just said, see you, Sammy.
Peek behind the curtain left and right this episode so far, you know?
We're getting behind the scenes. We're getting a little bit of a clip show. This is going to be great.
Yeah, a little bit of a clip show. Yeah, that's true. I guess maybe these topics we have touched before, but I wanted to talk about, I guess a couple things. And to begin with, I want to start with the Chosen One, which I feel like is one of the hottest takes or hottest topics in Star Wars in general. Is it Luke? Mm-hmm. Is it Anakin? Is it Rey now? And I feel like we haven't really talked about just surface level, I guess, or maybe more in depth with these topics, and we've talked about maybe this within a review or talking about the sequel trilogy, but who is the Chosen One?
It's Anakin.
All right, moving on. Number 2.
I do think,
it's, yeah.
I haven't talked about it with anyone since Ahsoka came out, but now they're like teeing Anakin up to become more involved with the Gods of Mortis stuff, and I think that'll really cement him as the Chosen One if he really does replace the father as the father.
That would be really cool.
Mortis, yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say, too.
Yeah, especially did anybody think it was Rey, really? Like,
I don't remember anyone ever saying that.
Yeah?
Mm-mm.
I feel like that was a huge discussion. I was like, I think that's the thing, is I think that maybe the Rey being the Chosen One was maybe with the people that didn't like the sequel trilogy or didn't like Rey, who was like, oh, they're trying to undo this, so they're now trying to.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. Maybe that's
malicious incomprehension. What's it called? It's like there's a phrase for that where they're
weaponized incompetence.
It's not weaponized incompetence. It's similar in the sense that they don't understand, and so they want to make it sound dumber than it actually is, as dumb as they want it to be.
Yeah.
Something.
They want to be outraged, so they're like, oh, they're trying to make her the Chosen One. Yeah. But really, it's like, no, they were never doing that. Calm down. Yeah, because I agree with Luke. I mean, I think Anakin is the Chosen One. I've said, I think before on this podcast, that I wish that they would go a little bit more into that prophecy.
Yeah.
But like Luke said, I think they are leading up to that in Ahsoka, because they're kind of picking up that storyline with the father, the son, and the daughter. And I think Anakin may take that mantle as the father, which would, I think, bring a full circle to a story arc regarding the Chosen One.
That's true. Also, were you almost going to say Holy Spirit there?
It's top of mind.
Every single
quick
time.
Plug for Jesus, the real Chosen One.
As we've talked in the past, though, you can use Star Wars as a religion. But no, I think that's a great point with Anakin. I think that'd be nice, because I feel like you can't really go too far in depth with the prophecy, because I feel like that really ties things for you and kind of you're going to end up tripping over that stuff?
Correct. I don't think they should anymore.
Yes.
I think we're going to get it. I think that's like what Ahsoka's building up to, and I don't want any more than we absolutely need. Because, once you like peek too much behind the curtain, like give a scientific explanation of midichlorians, you're just like, oh, hold on. Yeah.
I do think the conversation has shifted that no one is saying Luke is the chosen one anymore.
Yeah.
I don't
Do
hear
you think that's just our generation?
I was just about to say it probably is, and I think
be.
it's probably being spearheaded by Dave Filoni, because I feel like Dave Filoni is such a prequels apologist that he's like made it very clear. He's like, no, it's Anakin. I'm telling you right now, it's Anakin, and we're like, all right.
Especially for
that's
Dave
true.
Filoni, someone that like doesn't like to answer questions like that, especially regarding the Force. He wants to leave it open for interpretation, but yeah, he's comfortable answering that one.
Yeah.
Also, I don't want to do the thing that I was just talking about that people do when they want to make something sound dumber than it actually is, but Luke being the chosen one is also hurt by the sequels when he was like with Lando looking for Palpatine and Exegol, and then they just didn't find it, and Luke was like, damn. All right, back it up. Like, if you're the chosen one, you don't give up.
I was gonna say,
but I know that Luke's story arc in the sequels is more complicated than that, and I do really like it, and that's a very abridged version. But
in this
Anakin wouldn't have
context,
done it.
yes, in this context of being the chosen one, because there is something about Luke that he doesn't feel like he's the chosen one. It feels like somebody. It's like he got a job that he's not really qualified for, but he got the job. But then, like 2 months in, you realize he's not good for it. But you can't really fire him because you need the help.
Nepotism. The owner passes the job down to his son, and everyone's like,
yes,
we like you, but
and that's
you're not your
literally
dad.
what. Yeah. I mean, that's what it feels like, right? I mean, that's spot on, Maxwell. Nepotism.
Well, I mean, you said it. I just rephrased it.
Yeah,
No, that was great, Max.
Yeah,
No, thank you, guys. Thank you.
You're really smart.
I'll be here all night.
And then
Max is such a male corporate stooge where he just hears someone's idea and says it louder and gets all the praise.
Yeah,
that's all men do in the workforce anyway.
Piggybacking off that last thought.
the best.
My favorite phrase. Buzzword.
That I feel like that does happen quite a bit though. It's like when we brainstorm a lot at work. It's somebody I feel like maybe I do this a lot too. But yeah, I like that idea. It's kind of like mine. And then you say your own, and you're like, does anybody like my idea better than that?
Or if someone does have a good idea, just exactly what Luke said, just like, oh yeah, going off of that, and then just rephrase it and being like, what the fuck? That was exactly what I said.
Yeah, happens all the time.
My favorite.
Well, this Zoom meeting is 30 minutes, and we got to kill time.
My favorite corporate buzzword is it's just about finding that balance. That's what I always say when I'm not paying attention and someone asks my input. That's always the answer.
Like, yeah, no matter in any situation, you're like, yeah, kind of like the balance of the Force.
Yeah,
there
bring
you
it
go.
back.
Circling back to this, then on another good corporate buzzword.
Yes,
we've talked about metachlorians as well. I feel like we talk about them quite a bit, but. So this is a hot button topic too, and I've been trying to think about these things like in these debated topics, like from the perspective of us when we first found out about them versus like now. And I feel like now a lot of these problems have been not even solved, but more retcon, or we get more information and they really bulk them up. But how do you guys still feel about this? Like bottom line, do you like the idea that the Force is something that can be passed down? Do you like the Force that is more of a like acting religion thing out there that you can tap into?
My opinion is it is what it is, so you can't cry over spilt milk. Like if you say you hate it, you don't like it, like well, they established it, so you don't have to like it, but it is what it is. So you kind of just have to learn to accept it a little bit. I will say that they are currently kind of rebranding it a little bit. Instead of saying midichlorians, they're calling it M-Count. It's a big part of Bad Batch.
M-Count sounds
Mandalorian.
They're not rebranding it, though. I mean, I know
they're
calling it.
Yes, they
are. That is literally what a rebrand is.
It went from Sierra Mist to Starry.
Everyone knows.
I have never thought about that as a rebrand. I mean, they just don't want to say it, I guess. Yeah, that's
a
rebrand.
That's exactly what we're saying.
I am strongly pro midichlorians.
Yeah.
I wish I was around in 1999 in a speaking capacity. I was too, but I wish I was talking to the people that were bitching and moaning about the midichlorians, taking the mysticism out of the Force and making it biological. Like, watch the original trilogy. Luke Skywalker had it passed down from his father. How do you think that happened? That's not spiritual or mystical.
It's 100% genetic.
Luke says to Leia, I have that power and you can learn it too because you're my sister. It was never new information. They really made it clear in The Phantom Menace, and everyone threw their arms up and cried about it for 15 years. And now they are not walking it back, but making it more clear and expanding on it more, that Sabine Wren has a low midichlorian count, but she can still become a Jedi. It's just it's harder for her.
Yeah.
The Rise of Kylo Ren comic has a great line about it too, that Luke describes it like a door that starts more open for some people. He's talking about Ben Solo at the time, and he says like Ben's door, when he was born, it was halfway open, and some people it's just open a crack, but you can still open a door all the way. It's just harder and takes more time and patience. And it all makes sense. It's all in line with the original trilogy and the prequels and where they're going now with the newer Star Wars, and there's no reason to complain about it.
And sorry, go on.
I was gonna say it's also addressed in the Dark Droid story arc too, because they make a big deal about how like the Force is accessible to everyone, some more than others. Like you're just like a little more like predisposed or whatever. Like you said, the doors open more to others. But the whole thing of the Dark Droid story arc was that it was a robot who was trying to obtain the powers of the Force, and there was a big thing about that, whether robots are also part of this universe, but the Force binds all living things, therefore it doesn't really include robots. But it was interesting.
I was gonna say in that comic, do they also mention that why do doors open like that? Since usually doors in Star Wars historically have opened sideways or up and down, versus
Well, even if it's opening sideways or up and down, it's a little.
It's a very
or
specific
lot.
thing. I don't know, Max. I think you're thinking.
I think Matthew made a very good point. You never see a door just open a little bit in Star Wars. And can you imagine that, like a huge blast door and it just opens like a foot and you're like, oh, what the hell? You gotta shimmy sideways through.
Luke says that to Ben Solo and Ben's like, the fuck you talking about?
A New Hope. Luke and Leia are swinging across the Death Star trench, and they open the door just a little bit, and Leia says, "They're coming through."
Oh, that was it
opened
broken.
a little bit.
It was okay.
Tell me
it happens
when you're picturing a door. You're picturing that kind of door when it swings back and forth.
Well, yes, I'm much more experienced with doors in our world than doors in Star Wars, but the doors exist. It's a valid analogy.
I don't know.
And this is why it's one of the most hotly debated topics.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
doors.
I really thought this was settled canon, but I will say also about midi-chlorians. I made my case. I'm strongly pro.
Mm-hmm.
They did make it a little bit extra complicated when Qui-Gon. I mean, he said like it's a life form that helps us commune with the Force, but it's like an organism that lives inside your cells, and we are symbiotes with it.
Yeah. It's kind of like yogurt.
Mean, we can really dive into what that means.
It's a virus.
Yeah,
there's another comic storyline here in the works. I need to reach out to Charles Soule and just let him know, like, hey, someone should think that the Force is actually a virus. And
that's what George Lucas originally wanted to do with the third trilogy, was go into like the microscopic world and explore the Force and the midichlorians and stuff like that, and that. He had a story treatment for that, and it sounded really weird, but
yeah, that sounds horrible.
I love hearing all these things that the sequel trilogy could have been, because then I'm just like, you see, guys, it wasn't that bad.
So you want to do Osmosis Jones?
I haven't seen that.
That was your time.
Osmosis
Jones.
What
was that Disney show? It was on Disney.
Look up when it was. I bet I wasn't even thinking yet.
Yo, no, it wasn't the 90s. It was early 2000s.
2001. Bill Murray and Chris Rock.
What? Wait, are we thinking the same thing? The TV show?
Osmosis Jones.
Bill Murray and Chris Rock voiced them?
Yeah. It was a movie.
I have seen pictures of it.
It was a movie.
Yeah.
Was it also a TV show? I'm definitely thinking of a TV show.
Let's see. Osmosis Jones TV show. Ozzy and Drix. Yeah.
That was a Disney show?
It was also a TV show?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was voiced by Jeff Bennett and Justin Cowan.
I'm sure it was nobody's, but I could not believe when you said who did you just say?
Bill Murray and Chris Rock.
Bill Murray.
The animation looks the same. You know what I'm talking about?
That is definitely what I'm thinking of.
I recognize the blue guy.
Wow,
from
Ozzy and
Dreams or
Drix.
something.
I am having a Berenstein Bears moment right now with that. I could have sworn that was called Osmosis Jones.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's just, I'm sure you saw the movie and were like, I'm a fan of that. I'm gonna watch the show.
I did not, but I can't even recollect the movie. I only think of the TV show, and I feel like I've never heard of Ozzy and Drix before.
I mean, yeah, probably.
What's this thing called that I'm having?
The Mandela effect.
Mandela effect. Thank you.
Like, who's that guy who died in prison? It's named after him.
Yeah, no one really knows him. Yeah.
Morgan Freeman played him in that movie, that soccer movie with Matt Damon. Anyway, I also, another point for the midichlorians is that I think everyone bitched about it, especially when it first came out, that there's no mention of midichlorians or anything in the original trilogy, which is what you said earlier, Luke. And I feel like the biggest point, even beyond, obviously the obvious fact that Anakin handed it down to Luke genetically, and same thing with Leia, is the fact that Han Solo didn't even know Jedi existed. Their history is lost. Their history is gone. How would anybody know about these things? That was a very I feel like nobody would understand that. And the same thing with Rey and Finn, in Force Awakens, asking Han Solo's like, it's true, all of it. No one knows shit, but I'm beyond planet bounds, basically.
That's true. I will say this, though, to go up against Luke a little bit, that there is a difference between just like providing an explanation and just really beating your head over it. Like, yeah. I think people would have been less upset if they were just like, oh, did you see Anakin's midichlorian count? Yeah, they're off the trails. It's higher than Master Yoda. I think what might have really ticked people off was when they just really sat you down and Qui-Gon looked directly into the camera and he said, well, midichlorians are these microscopic beings that live in your blood. Like, I feel like at that point people were like, okay, we kind of put it together a little bit.
Yes.
We didn't need the lecture.
Anakin was the perfect surrogate for the audience because he just said to Qui-Gon, I've been wondering, what are midichlorians? And I was like, I was wondering that too, Anakin.
But 2-year-old Luke was like, yes, thank you. Why is no one else asking?
There's also that aspect of again, George Lucas, I think, wrote himself into a hole and couldn't get out of it. So he had to be like, okay, how do we show him using the Force?
He had grand plans for these midichlorians.
That's true. Like if we're going to a microscopic world, Ozzy and Drix style. Yeah, that's true, I guess. But at the same time, it's like you have to show Anakin using the Force then, which you can't do. Like, he has to be the strongest Force user of all time, which means he wouldn't be in the situation presumably he's in.
Ooh, what do you mean?
Like, if it wasn't the midichlorian count.
Oh, right.
You have to have
a plot device to show that he's Force sensitive, because you don't see him.
They would have to have him like a child prodigy in a speed racing thing. They did it.
He's not very good.
Did it both ways. You like the Phantom Menace.
I do like the Phantom Menace. I don't like Attack of the Clones.
He's the only human that could do it. Could it be more clear?
I just have no stakes. If that was set up before, I'd be like, holy shit, a kid's doing this? But I have no reference beyond that.
They tried to tell you. He's the only human that could do it. He must have Jedi reflexes if he can handle it.
But my thing every time watching that scene is like, these people don't know enough humans. There's no fucking way.
Oh, they know
humans are the minority on Tatooine.
Yeah,
get a larger sample size.
Absolutely no way. Speaking of midichlorians, so then do you think that means that Finn has a midichlorian count, much like Sabine Wren, and that will be explored potentially in the Rey movie?
Yes. Well, much like Sabine Wren. I mean, I would say she doesn't have a midichlorian count, but she's figuring it out anyway.
I thought she's a low midichlorian count.
I think everyone has a low midichlorian count.
Oh, because that gives us all hope that we can all do it.
Yeah, and anyone can do it. So I don't think it matters what Finn's midichlorian count is, but so I guess he will become a Jedi.
Maybe Finn is in the same boat and maybe being exposed to Rey because she's just like giving those midichlorians off in her sweat. He's absorbing them.
Could be.
I still am so interested in seeing how they're gonna work that movie and how they're gonna.
I was just about to say, I think we're also still giving it too much credit. I feel like once we get closer to, we're going to find out that Rey's going to have like a very small part. I feel like they're going to use the word rebrand again.
Well,
rebrand the sequel trilogy of like moving beyond Rey. I don't think they're going to double down with Rey and Finn.
I think that's a good call. I think they're going to try to do usher in the new by having the old kind of lead it. What did they do that? I feel like they just did that recently with a new IP. Sorry.
Before we get too far away from it, there's a sick osmosis joke that you'll have to cut in because I can't think of it quick enough. But you said Rey is just sweating out midichlorians and Finn's absorbing them, and that's what osmosis is. And we were just talking about osmosis. Cut it in.
I'm sure I'll do that.
Bill Murray, Chris Rock. So yeah, a lot of Osmosis Jones talk for a Star Wars podcast. There's two ones I really want to get to, and so I don't want to waste too much time doing the other ones. I mean, Han and Greedo, obviously, probably one of the most debated topics and stuff too. We've talked about this before. Your dad says it's very in line with Han Solo's personality, especially after seeing Solo, which I still
that Han
don't know.
shot first.
Yeah, that Han shot first, but I don't know. I mean, this is something that like fans love to debate because I think it's fun to debate because I don't think there's really a right or wrong answer. Personally, I don't think that right.
There's a right or wrong answer.
What do you think? I mean,
Han shot second.
Yeah, Greedo shot
Canonically
first.
speaking, Han shot second. You can dislike it. That's fine.
Yeah.
I understand my dad's argument, but
yeah,
they're definitely not both true.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the point of having a canon universe, that there are answers to these questions, and that one is black and white now.
That's true. I mean, but originally, Han shot first.
That doesn't like
Han
it.
shot first, yep.
So it's a different. So it depends then, I guess. There's two two answers to it.
I mean,
Depends on when the retcons come.
Originally, Luke Skywalker's name was Luke Starkiller.
Yeah, but that's not
exactly
canonical in the fact that it was never made. There was a version out there where Han shot first.
There was
Han
a
shooting.
version.
No, Matt's right. Han shooting was canon at a point, and then it was retcon, and the canon changed.
Yeah, but canon being just on-screen representation or script canon before they get shot.
Oh, now we're diving into a big thing that I always go on about, which is deleted scenes. Are deleted scenes canon? Did Shakti, how did she die? She died like 3 times in deleted scenes of The Revenge of the Sith.
I don't think deleted scenes would be canon because they're deleted scenes, so they're not part of the full story. I mean, that depends, I guess. If they were, I think like Lord of the Rings, like the 5-hour versions, like those were obviously like 2 hours of deleted scenes basically because they're like a 3-hour movie anyway. But so those before those were released presumably weren't like canon. But then since there is a cut with those in there, they have to be. So I feel like deleted scenes probably aren't canon realistically, right?
Yeah, because a lot of them are. Well, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some deleted scene examples, and I'm coming up empty. Like all the deleted scenes with Padme's family on Naboo in Attack of the Clones, that can be canon. There's no reason for that not to be canon. It just was cut for pacing or story issues.
Yeah. That's a lot of this stuff.
Is that the line with deleted scenes, though, that they're just canon until they're not? I mean, there's a lot of like, oh, well, there's no reason for that not to be canon in most of the deleted scenes. In The Phantom Menace, there was a deleted scene of just an extended version of introducing all the pod racers.
Yeah,
like,
that's
to
canon.
your logic, yeah, it's like, of course it would be canon, because why not? But I feel like that's just not a tenable position of just being like, well, yeah, it's canon unless it's obviously not. Like, no. Who makes those rules?
I'm okay with the canon until not train.
Yeah.
No, because then you're falling into the same trap as people have with the extended universe, where people think that Legends is canon until it's not. This is what I was talking about with the Plagueis.
I think it's the Plagueis. I think it is one of those things where, like,
the Black
pod
Plagueis.
racing names, for example, are said later on in the movie, though, right? While they're racing.
Not all of them. I think some of them.
I think some of them were unique names that you don't hear later, but I don't know. I mean, but you see them all.
Yeah.
You see them all, and they're all in the Star Wars Episode 1 Racer video game, and they're all on Wikipedia. So, like, you know the names of all the pod racers.
Sure.
But they don't all get an on-screen shout-out.
Don't get me started on Wikipedia.
I was just going to say. So that's the thing. I think then maybe the scenes are not, like, the scenes with Luke in the beginning of A New Hope where they cut his friend out. I can't remember who.
Biggs?
Yes, he's done. Yeah. So not canon then, right? In that regard, and those scenes did not happen in that order.
But they reference those scenes later when he sees them back on Yavin.
That's true.
Now that opens a can of worms.
That's what I'm saying. The deleted scenes conversation for canonicity is a hot topic issue, in my opinion.
It's true. It is one of those things maybe where they do pick and choose within the universe. Because like you said, if a character dies in a deleted scene, or like Qui-Gon Jinn being out of breath once he gets back on the
I was just about to bring that up because it is Phantom Menace month, even though, you know, we're not talking exclusively Phantom Menace right now.
Things came up.
There is a deleted scene where it explains why they're sprinting. Qui-Gon and Anakin are sprinting. And so if you're not taking deleted scenes into account, there has to be a canon reason that they were sprinting.
Yeah, and that's
because you don't just sprint naturally.
And that's the scene that cut for pacing.
Right.
They literally slowed it down.
So, I mean, we don't know why they're sprinting canonically, but we do know there has to be a reason. And so it might as well be. So that falls into the canon until proven not trained, that they're the deleted scene that explains why they're sprinting is why they're sprinting in canon.
I think that's an untenable position. I think you have to categorize it as headcanon.
It's tough.
Yeah, it is tough.
It is. I'm taking a tough love approach.
Man, like I'm still trying to work through some different aspects of that too. Where are we landing on director's commentary? Just kidding. Like a DVD feature.
Is it canon that BB-8 says, I have a bad feeling about this in The Last Jedi?
Oh.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
But how do we know?
Yeah, I don't know.
He just says it. I mean, it's never directly translated for us, the audience.
It can't be canon.
Ryan Johnson said it, but
okay,
in universe.
All right, I get it. I would say
I would say
Easter yes, but
but is it Easter egg canon? Oh,
I don't want to talk about Easter eggs.
No, this is another reason why I get upset when people are like, "Oh, they shouldn't have decanonized Legends or whatever." That the canon system before 2015 was so untenable. The top tier of canon was what they called G tier, and that was the George tier. Everything that he spoke was canon because he would make the movies, and then other people would do books and stuff. and then he would just completely disregard it. And if George Lucas disregarded it and he did something completely different, that was what was canon. That was the top tier. That was G tier. And one of my biggest pet peeves is, even to this day, people claim that Obi-Wan Kenobi's home planet is Stewjon, because on a late night show with Jon Stewart, he asked him, like, oh, where's Obi-Wan Kenobi from? And as a joke, he said the planet Stewjon, because that's Jon Stewart's name. And that's G tier. So so everyone at the time was like, that's how G tier works. George Lucas says it, therefore it's canon. And then when everything changed in 2015, that was supposed to change with it. To my knowledge, there is no other canon material that claims Obi-Wan Kenobi's home planet is Stewjon, yet people still hold that to be true.
Yeah. If I was George Lucas, I would call it the G-spot. I think it'd be fucking hilarious.
I think Obi-Wan's home planet is Stewjon.
Why? You're taking G tier.
I know.
That doesn't make sense. G tier doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
There's no other reason for that to be canon in our current thing.
This is me and the Han shot first situation too. But that's what's so funny. It's like, I think if you have to think of Star Wars in a canon, canonically, Han shot second. But if you think about Star Wars as a media, I guess, aspect, if you're like not even so much of a fan, or it's like, Han shot first because originally that's how they did it, right? So I feel like you can look at things two different ways. But yeah, canonically, like you said, just looking at, would I still say Han shot first? Yes, because I'm gonna live and die by that original edit still.
I know there's just some things that,
but canonically,
that become emotional because like you have an emotional attachment to Han shooting first. I don't have an emotional attachment to Obi-Wan being from Stewjon.
No, don't you lie, you do.
I do, yeah. I like that, and I know it goes against the logic and reasons that I myself laid out not 10 minutes ago, but...
I was just going to say, if I would have said my argument right now 10 minutes ago, you would have hit back so fucking hard. But the fact that I was like...
I'm not emotional about that one, but I am about this one.
But then once it hits home, you're like, oh my God.
Well, in 2 months when Luke listens to this, he'll be texting us his thoughts.
There's a lesson to be learned there. Not everything can be rationalized with logic and facts. Sometimes emotions matter.
That's true. That's like when you were marching against refugees, and then your mom was like, your uncle was a refugee, and you're like, oh my God, he was. And then you stopped marching.
What?
That sounds like way too specific of an example, Matthew. Were you marching against refugees?
I said Luke.
I wasn't.
Oh, just funny. Just because you're taking a political thing personal. This episode's great so far.
We're getting heated. This is what we promised.
No, I feel like it's been pretty level so far.
Serenity now.
No, I'm Serenity now. Did you know how Curb ends?
No, don't tell me, because I am working my way through it right now.
All right.
I'm almost done with the second to last season, so I'm about to start it.
I know.
Do you?
Don't tell me.
I saw headlines. I'm surprised you didn't.
Don't tell me.
Do you remember what I guessed originally?
I remember. Yeah, don't tell me. Don't tell me that. I'm not even looking at you. I don't want to know if it was right or not.
I didn't finish it. I'm just wondering if you know.
Anyway. Do you know? Am I the only one that knows?
No, I know.
Oh.
I can't look at any of you.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, Star Wars being on Disney. Feel like that's a really big hot topic too.
What do you mean being on Disney?
I'm purchased from Disney, being on Disney Plus. I feel like that was a big contention, and in 2012 when it sold as well. Obviously, people wanted to keep it more privately owned, I guess, versus being this huge conglomerate, which was eating up and still eating up every single thing and property.
Wake up and join the real world. Everything's a huge conglomerate. Nothing's privately owned. It's the difference between Star Wars producing content and not producing content. So I'm obviously for it. Disney has been rebranding more and more in the last several years to be not just for 10-year-olds anymore anyway. They're merging with Hulu. There's R-rated content on Disney Plus. There's no reason to even have that stigma anymore that because Star Wars is owned by Disney, they can't do any dark or gritty stuff. I mean, Andor, some of the darkest things we've gotten are from the Disney era, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, I want to argue with it because, like, personally, I have no love for Disney as like a giant corporation.
Yeah.
But I mean, they are making Star Wars accessible for everyone. I do like Disney Plus. So like I'm fine with that. Like, what's the alternative? Like when Clone Wars was coming out, you had to tune in like every single week to a cable channel. Like that's no, give me it on streaming. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. And it's like Luke said, it's like everything is a giant conglomerate. Everything sucks. Like I have no love for Disney either, right? I mean, I like Disney, like the theme parks and stuff too, and it's like it's just a massive machine. What are you gonna do? It's the war. It's terrible.
Yeah. You got to call a spade a spade.
Yes.
I mean, I sympathize a lot with people who like want to hate everything that Disney does because they hate Disney. But like, again, you have to call a spade. Like, they do good stuff as well.
Yes.
Like, I'll be the first to admit that I don't like the Book of Boba Fett, but you have to also say that Andor is pretty incredible.
Yes, exactly. And also, just like, Disney owns Hulu. They own everything. So what are you going to do? FX networks as well.
Star Wars is more accessible than it's ever been, and I approve of that.
That was exactly my biggest thing too. Is you remember before Disney Plus? Like, I remember when Disney Plus came out, I was like, I can't believe I'm scrolling through all Star Wars movies that are streaming right in front of me. I can watch these whenever I want. Like, that was not that long ago.
I know.
When
2019.
Was that? Jesus Christ! I mean, like, that's insane. Because that's the first season of Mandalorian.
Yeah,
that's insane to me. Because I mean, like, before then it was like, oh, let me go get my Blu-ray set. That sucked. Like, or like even having
find a DVD player or a Blu-ray player. Yeah,
or like buy it on Amazon or something. And even then, there's just like, it just doesn't feel right. It just feels just conjointed and discombobulated. But like, it being so accessible is great. And so like, even beyond them owning or beyond them producing new content, which I'm very grateful for, like the animated shows, like you said, Max, like 6 seasons of Clone Wars, like just randomly out in the ether, and then all of a sudden it's on Netflix randomly, and then it's taken away from Netflix, and then it's finally kind of compiled.
The first time I ever watched Rebels was on Amazon Prime.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it on Prime?
It was on Prime at one point. Yeah. No, it was free. I hope I didn't buy it. I don't think I did.
It's a monthly subscription just to Rebels. Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like it was all scattered everywhere. Now that you can finally watch it in one place, and it's like, I know, unfortunately, that's what a lot of streamers are doing. Reverting back to is just selling their content. You can watch HBO content now on Netflix and blah blah blah. But it's like, Star Wars hopefully will always just be in one place and consistently accessible, because it's the best.
There is something to be said for physical media, which I know you agree with. You're not saying anything against that, but like, I mean, on this show, we ourselves have even joked too about the steelbooks that they're doing for the Star Wars TV shows, live actions that are coming out. And we were like, yeah, even if we did buy it, which like we might, we're still going to watch on Disney Plus. Like, you're just adding an extra step to watching it.
Yep.
Maybe I'll watch the extra features that are in there that aren't on Disney Plus. But it's like, if I ever want to throw on Andor, I'm not going to grab the steelbook.
No, it's a nice display case thing. We should really do an episode about the special features though in those, if we buy them.
I definitely won't be. My display cases are quite full already with toys and comics.
Well, how's your ceiling?
also full.
Well, damn it! I did not see that answer coming. Only funny to the three of us. The special editions, obviously, also I feel like we've touched upon this consistently as well. But like the special, how do you got? I mean,
it's the same thing as Han shooting second.
I know. It just does not. It's just weird though. But that's the thing, is like, it's one of those things I think that like we don't have access to the original cuts. And so therefore we can complain about them until we get them, and then once we get them, we're like, yeah, I just prefer the other ones now.
What are those VHSs behind you? Are those original, or is that the first special edition?
I would bet they're the first special edition.
It looks like it. The 90s ones. I think it says on the side.
This would be crazy if we have them right now and we can go watch them. We just have to go find a VCR.
I was about to say, we can't watch it. I don't have the technology to even watch that.
I like the special editions. I think most of the changes were improvements. Others were lateral moves, not better or worse.
I think that's my biggest problem, is that a lot of them are lateral.
Except I disagree with Return of the Jedi specifically. I feel like all the changes in Return of the Jedi were much bigger improvements. Everything in Jabba's palace and the final song, going from Yub Nub to Celebration Song.
Yeah.
That was a big improvement.
That is indeed. I could look at these until I find the date, but I feel like I'm just going to be staring at these for a long time. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I would like a version, and I would love, much like you can watch, I'm trying to think of
1995.
How the fuck did you find it that quick?
So that was before then. 97 was the special edition. The originals.
We gotta watch them, boys. Who has a VCR?
I think Jake might.
My mom's coming down to visit on Sunday, so I can have her bring a VCR as well. And then we won't be able to watch, because as I said earlier in the episode, last episode for a little bit for me.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Are we gonna be really like it's 2005? We're just gonna be sharing a DVD player or VHS player between the three of us? We're like, you can borrow it now.
It's retro.
Yeah, man. I'm excited for that. Fuck, I really want to watch this now. But yeah, the special. I would love to be able to toggle between special editions versus regular editions, just to have that option.
Oh, that'd be great if they were all on Disney Plus.
That's what I mean. Yeah, because so originally when The Simpsons came on Disney Plus, it was a huge outcry because they were all cropped into 16:9. We've talked about this.
I remember that. Yeah.
And you lost a lot of the visual gags, and so you were able to toggle between 16:9 and 4:3 aspect ratio for The Simpsons. And I was like, that's a stupid feature, but a genius feature if you're just like, I don't know who's watching, 1998 Simpsons and being like, yes, let me watch this zoomed in. Like, I don't think anybody's doing that.
Because it's just for the fans, and you like things where they feel like that, where they're doing something for the fans.
Exactly. And I think the same thing, and then they eventually got rid of that feature, and now it's just 4:3 until it's not. But I think the same thing for Star Wars. It would be the best thing they could do, and honestly a smart move I think that they could do would be to put the original ones on Disney Plus, so that you're able to draw back original fans as well, who have abandoned the Disney era Star Wars or have abandoned Star Wars in general, so they can watch them and be like, oh, maybe this isn't as good, or maybe it is. I don't know.
That I disagree with, though. I was just about to say, like, from a business perspective, I feel like that wouldn't make sense, because I don't think throwing the original Star Wars on Disney Plus will add new members. I think if you're a Star Wars fan, you probably already subscribe to Disney Plus. Like, I feel like they would just be doing that to, like I said, do something nice for the fans.
Yeah, I would.
I would be shocked if they saw a big uptick in subscriptions just to see like the original.
Oh yeah, I don't think for necessary subscriptions, but just like I feel like fandom, I'd be pumped to see the original ones.
I know. I mean,
I would too. I would definitely watch.
It's not like Disney Plus is operating just off of the bottom line subscribers gained and lost. Like, they added the Ewok movies. It's not like they thought that was going to add subscribers. It's just. It's a I don't know how the streaming service works, but they have
neither do they. Honestly.
I know, no one does. I'm kind of getting into the tinfoil hat theory territory now, but I feel like George Lucas was very clear in the contract when he sold Disney to Disney in 2012 that they are not permitted to ever monetize or show the despecialized editions or the holiday special.
Yeah,
I feel like they would have done that by now if they were not expressly not allowed to.
That's not. I wouldn't say that's too tinfoily hatty of a theory.
Yeah,
because I mean George Lucas was very clear about how like he feels like he was able to go back during the special or the digital features, whatever, the special effects, whatever he added later.
Yep. Special editions.
Thank you. Wow,
you're really running around it.
I know. Where he was like, I was finally able to go back and kind of make it more of like what I always envisioned it to be and stuff like that. And he was very vocal about the holiday special as well, how he would, if he had the time and money, that he would go around like home to home to get every single copy that ever existed and smash every single one.
Mm-hmm. You know
which, thank God for YouTube.
Hilarious though is that he absolutely has the time and money to do that. If anybody has the fucking time and money, it's George Lucas, who does nothing and is worth $1 billion.
Clip show. You made that joke when we were talking about the holiday special too.
I know, but it was so worth it. Yeah, as a clip show,
we told you, we promised.
It's been a while. And he's still rich. And his only clause was, if my biggest secret ever, if there's any sort of island or mention of logs, then you can do it. Sorry. Clip show that too. And the last thing I want to talk about, which it could be a main topic in my mind, but we can also run through, is just the viewing order of Star Wars. You have the production viewing order. You have the actual, oh my God, I can't think of chronological order. You have a lot of different.
We have the sway way.
The sway way, yes, which is not out yet.
No, we'll be learning about the sway way.
Correct.
You'll be learning about the sway way in a couple of weeks or months.
I'm glad you did not save this for a main episode topic, because I don't have that much to say about it, although I've said that about several of these topics already. Chronological order just makes too much sense, right? There's so much context for, just logistically, like when I'm showing my kids, I'm going to start with the old ones because they're made to be shown first. Like, you don't need any prior knowledge. The prequels, like, if you see them first, it just raises, I don't know.
Production order, not chronological. Chronological would be Phantom.
Yeah, chronological is kind of a funny word because it's like bi-weekly, meaning every 2 weeks or once or twice every week. It could mean like chronological in the way it was released or chronological in universe
date.
But I don't know. Chronological or release date order just seems like the most obvious to me, and I would not really entertain another option.
Along with Solo and Rogue One, as well as the shows.
Mm-hmm. Yes, all of it in release order.
Spot on for me as well.
I think it 100% depends on the age of the viewer.
I don't know.
I mean, I would probably skip Andor because I'm sure I'll show.
Oh, that 5-year-old's watching Andor.
Most things, yeah.
But you're not watching it first, though. Like, I feel like nowadays, everyone who's like coming into Star Wars is doing so at a very young age. I just overheard a conversation at work today about somebody who was talking about how their kid loves Star Wars but hasn't seen it. But like, he has like books and like he knows who Chewbacca is and he really likes Chewbacca. And I'm like, if he really likes Chewbacca, do you show him A New Hope? Like he said he was like 4 years old. I'm like, is a 4-year-old going to sit down to watch A New Hope? I feel like if you're 4 years old, you should start with Rebels, which seems like a weird jumping on point, but I feel like it's like the most age appropriate.
That's true. I guess I already watched Young Jedi Adventures with my 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's where I started.
Young Jedi Adventures is a nice side tangent, though. I feel like, that is a kid's show made for kids. That feels it's a good jumping on point. But it is so weird. It's like same thing with Marvel, where it's like I just watch it from the beginning and do whatever. Like I don't really know how they've divulged since then.
Well, Marvel's more linear in their storytelling.
That's true, but
it's all in the same era, so it's not like a sacrifice to have to watch a movie from 1977 with a 5-year-old.
That's true. That's a good point.
I gotta watch this film from 2008.
But as I said, one day though, that's gonna happen.
Are they saying that? I don't think so.
Because there's no like significant jump between them.
I don't think so either, but are we just old now?
That's a potential. There's a lot of things like that have been happening, I feel like. Some of my coworkers are like 23 years old, and I feel like 22 years old, and I'm like, I'm not that much older. I mean, we're like 8 years, but I'm like, that is a world apart for some people. Like when I was a professor for a year, I was gonna make a joke before I got fired or something, but I didn't get fired. I just taught during COVID. It was video production 101, but I taught for a year, and I use a lot of references to be like, oh yeah, so in Game of Thrones, this would happen, or this would happen. And I was like, this is 2020. So Thrones ended like 2 years prior to that. And they said
2019, I think.
Oh, so a year before. Yeah. And they had no idea what I was talking about.
2019. I remember what school year it was for me. It was 2018, 2019 school year.
They just had no reference at all to a show that was basically currently going on, or at least ended a year before. Just no idea. Never saw Breaking Bad. Never saw Game of Thrones. And those shows...
Breaking Bad ended in like 2013.
It did indeed.
That's old.
No, but I was going to say that one surprised me more though, because I feel like that one held its place in the pantheon of good TV shows. Where I feel like
true.
We've talked about this before on podcasts as well. Clip show alert. Game of Thrones, how that just like immediately fell from cultural relevancy as soon as the finale
zeitgeist.
The zeitgeist, if you will. Maybe we will talk about this.
Maybe.
But yeah, so it surprises me more about
the Time Ghost or something. Again, only funny for the three of us.
The Time Ghost. I mean,
keep listening to our podcast. A lot of these jokes will make sense in the future.
That's a seed for months from now for a bad
That's my nickname. That's what Luke. That's what Luke calls me. The Time Ghost.
I don't even know what I was saying anymore. Breaking Bad. I'm more surprised that people haven't seen that than Game of Thrones.
Nobody had any sort of clue to that stuff. So I don't know if Marvel. I mean, that's later than Breaking Bad. Iron Man is. So I don't know, but yeah, I still think the chronological order. I just hate when people do like these maps. Right? Same thing with the Halloween trilogy. I feel like we've also talked about this with the Halloween movies, the horror movies. They're like, so in release order, it's like the first two are connected, and then there's the separate where there's like the other version where they do 4 and 5, which are only connected to the first two if you watch it in this order, and then there's the first two which then ignore 3, 4, and 5 and go right to H2O and Resurrection, and then there's the other version where it's the first two and then or just the first one and then it goes to the new trilogy. And now they're doing it again where it's like you can watch the first movie from 1978 and then this new TV show, and it's like all these different versions you can watch and pick and choose, and it's so annoying.
I know. It's like almost a meme about the viewing order for so many different franchises.
Yeah.
And Star Wars gets lumped in because it did go original, then prequels, then sequels. Sure. But it's really not that complicated. Maybe I'm just too close to the space and it seems obvious.
No.
But like, just go in release order. Like, it's not a code like Halloween apparently is.
Yes. And I think there's also a lot of references or nods to the original trilogy and the sequel or the prequel trilogy. So if you watch the prequel trilogy first, I feel like you're missing out on a lot of context. Or like if you saw I Have a Bad Feeling About This spoken by Obi-Wan first, and then you hear from Han Solo, it's weird. You have to hear Han say it first, not Obi-Wan.
Well, you hear a number of people say it, and Obi-Wan says it the best way.
But he says it first. Like if you're watching Phantom, he says it the first line in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. I was trying to think of other examples too where the prequels need the context of the sequels, and I couldn't think of any concrete examples, but I'm sure by the time I'm listening to this episode once it releases, I'll have a couple that are killing me right now.
Within Star Wars or other franchises?
Within Star Wars. Okay. Moments in the prequel trilogy that hinge on on having seen the sequel trilogy or the original trilogy. I can't think of any. Ugh, and that bothers me.
I can't stop thinking about the Fast and Furious, so I'm just going to get this off my chest real quick. Fast and Furious, same way. Don't watch Tokyo Drift 3rd. That makes no sense because Han dies in the 3rd one, and then he comes back in the 4th one. He's like one of the best characters. Or no, he doesn't come back in the 4th one. I think he's in the 5th one. And then you got to watch 6 and 7, and then after 7 do Tokyo Drift.
There's a guy named Han in Fast and the Furious?
There sure is, and he's one of the best ones.
Does he die canonically then in Tokyo Drift?
Not canonically, no, because he comes back in 9. Or 10? Which one did he come back in? He comes back.
Yeah. How does he come back? So he dies in Tokyo Drift.
Jason Statham faked his death with him.
Oh my god. That's the best. There's a show called Queen of the South that my parents like loved. And it was like, why? This is bad Breaking Bad. I watched the first episode and I was like, this is fucking terrible. And the first little bit, it's narrated by this lady and she gets shot. And she's like, you're probably wondering how I got here. And she's like a big drug card.
I love when shows start like that.
But it does it so seriously. It's not like funny, right?
Not
It
like a
just does it. And then I was like, oh, she fakes her death, Mom and Dad, like years ago. And then the new season came out last year and they didn't watch it because they gave up on it. I was like, oh, do you know how it ends? And they're like, no, how did it end? I was like, she faked her death.
I told you in the first 10 minutes.
How else would the main character die? And then there's no way they were going to kill her. So stupid.
Was it complete with a record scratch and everything?
It might as well have been. Like I just like rolled my eyes in the first like 30 seconds of the show. I was like, oh my god, I can't take this. So many bad Breaking Bad knockoffs at the time. Anyway, those are the only topics that I had. Did anybody else have any hot topics? We talked about the deleted scenes a lot more than I thought, which was great.
Gets me going.
No, I don't have any other hot topics. No, I just can't think. I can't stop thinking about all the other TV
references
shows that people have recommended to me.
Oh,
and I'm just like,
Padme.
I don't watch that much TV, so I know I'm not going to watch it. But
Ray.
What?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what you mean by hot topics.
Oh my god.
Leia in Return.
Yeah. Trying to think of like a food or something that was in the show or movies. I can't think of a single thing. Hot drink. Damn it, nothing. Tatooine. Damn it. It was right there.
Well. Thanks for listening, everybody. That was Matt's Rogue One, and that qualified. That was a good episode. That was good.
It's nothing like Max's June Rogue One, though. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah, and we haven't even recorded my July Rogue One, but I'm cooking up something fierce for it. So stay tuned. Follow us on socials and email us. Thanks for listening.
See you, Sammy.
I actually don't have any ideas for July Rogue One. I just wanted to light a fire.
You gotta really come up with something now, though.
I know. It's gonna be good.